Today, I want to talk about how purpose accelerates the integration of two cultures when the holy matrimony of a merger between two companies happens. Now, the fantasy about a merger, or the dream about a merger, is that by bringing the two companies together, the downstream benefits will be greater. The generations of products and services sold will be far more successful if the two companies come together and work as one, rather than being separate. But of course, the problem that creates is that there is often a culture war, because both cultures want to be the dominant culture and want the other one to become them. And that's really not tenable, as we've seen so many times before. So the short answer to this is to say, don't be that culture, don't be that culture, be that one. And that one is far more emotionally resonant for both of those organizations and both those cultures. So they want to be that more than what they've been in the past. So let's look at Baycrest Hospital, which might be an interesting or a curious place to look at as a merger examination. But Baycrest is really two organizations. There's the long-term care facility and there's the research facility. And they can't say that they're a long-term care facility because they'll alienate all the research people and donors. And they can't say they're a research facility because they'll alienate all the long-term care facility patients, employees, and donors. So as we were doing Baycrest's blueprint, we came up with a name for them. The Baycrest Centers for Innovation and Aging. And where that came from, centers, pluralized, came from Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. Why do they do that? They're just one organization, but actually they're a whole bunch of departments, a whole bunch of organizations under one umbrella. And by calling them centers, it allows each of them to be an island unto its own with its own ego, while at the same time being a part of the whole. And we thought that applied here. And then we said, well, what do these two organizations do? And well, Rotman, the research facility, research is innovation, or the source of innovation. And the hospital, you don't get to be the long-term, the gold standard in long-term care without being innovative. So we realized that it's really innovation that is the common thread that runs through these two hospitals, and in aging, of course, because they both deal with long-term care. So we came up with Baycrest Centers for Innovation and Aging. And what we realized is that their purpose was buried inside that name, innovation and aging. That was the thing that was common to both. So don't be a long-term care facility, don't be a research facility. Have these as two elements committed to the purpose, innovation and aging. Then what you create is a relationship between these two organizations where new stuff is generated primarily in the research facility, it's applied in the hospital, and then the hospital comes back with feedback that makes the research even stronger. So you create this virtuous circle where, the rising tide lifts all boats. So go back to, what we know about purpose. And their purpose is innovation and aging, and you drive that through everything that both departments do, both organizations do, and both organizations say. That creates a unified culture, right? Because culture is just the social extension of purpose inside an organization, so that all of the downstream benefits from this marriage, all the future generations of products and services that you thought would be so profitable, become that because you have two cultures united by a common purpose. If you'd like to know more about how to become a purpose-driven company, I'd love to have that conversation with you. Please contact me at my email address, and we can have a phone call or a Zoom call.